Microsoft Project is an incredibly powerful project planning and management tool. It can be used for everyday projects by a single project manager or be employed in an integrated way for enterprise programs with multiple project managers overseeing thousands of tasks and hundreds of resources. The great capability that Microsoft Project provides means that there is some necessary complexity in the way it manages project data and enforces some important project management business rules. This complexity can make it difficult for first-time users who usually figure out how to create a nice-looking Gantt chart but then get frustrated when they find it difficult to maintain and update. In these videos I'm hoping to show you how to get started with Microsoft Project and how you can avoid some of the common pitfalls that can stand in your way.
Let's start by exploring the key concept of free-flowing schedules. In Microsoft Project you will want to be able to create your plan and then see how future changes and progress updates may impact downstream dates and deadlines. In this example, Task B has encountered a problem and the estimated duration needs to change from 5 days to 10 days. The outcome of this simple change means without corrective action Task E will miss its deadline. Of course, our objective is to proactively manage and monitor our plan to try to avoid this happening. Microsoft Project can forecast the impacts of downstream changes because we choose to use auto-scheduled tasks and the tool performs calculations based on durations and the predecessor relationship for each task. In simple terms, all the predecessor relationship means that one task must be completed before the next task can start. Predecessor relationships can be finish to start, start to finish, start to start, finish to finish, and even have lead and lag days in the calculation. So, backing up a bit. Microsoft Project has two types of tasks: auto-scheduled and manually scheduled tasks. As I'm sure you've already guessed, manual tasks have a specific start date and end date. This might make it easier when you're first creating your plan, but it also creates constraint dates which will make it very difficult to update your plan. This is the reason for our first best practice scheduling rule: only use auto-scheduled tasks. The second scheduling rule is, to allow for fixed date events, only milestones can be manually scheduled or have constraint dates. These milestones are typically used as an anchor for preceding or successor task sequences. Let's see what this all looks like in Microsoft Project. I am now going to demonstrate how to set auto-scheduled tasks to be the default type for new activities, and then I will show you how to enter scheduled data. Finally, I will show you what different predecessor relationships do. When you first open Microsoft Project, this is what you should see. From here you would normally open an existing project or create a new project, but there are two important application options we want to change first. If you move your pointer down to the bottom left-hand corner and double-click on Options, the project dialog will appear. The first change we want to make is accessible by selecting the display group of options and moving your pointer down to the checkbox under the Show These Elements header and check the box next to the entry bar description. The data entry bar is very similar to the data entry bar in Microsoft Excel. You will find this easier to use than double-clicking into some project data fields in Microsoft Project. The second change we want to make is in the Schedule group of options. Once selected, move your pointer down to the shaded header titled Scheduling Options for this project and ensure that All New Projects is selected in the drop box within this header. Once done, look at the drop box immediately under this one titled as New Tasks Created and ensure that the auto-scheduled option is selected in this drop-down box. Once you have made these two option changes, you can click on OK and close the Projects option dialog box.
Let's go ahead and create a new project. If you move your pointer up to the top left-hand corner and click on File, Microsoft Project will then show us a list of available templates. The one we are looking for is called Blank Project. After you double-click on the Blank Projects template, this is how the screen should appear. Like most Microsoft Office applications, we have the ribbon control across the top of the application. The bar immediately below is the data entry bar that we enabled in the options. Next, we have the timeline view. Although we are not going to use it today, this is a valuable way to create a summary view of your project, which I will demonstrate in a future video. Below the timeline is the Gantt chart area where we are going to focus our attention today. The Gantt chart is split into two halves. The project data entry area is on the left-hand side looking like a spreadsheet, and on the right-hand side is where the Gantt chart shapes, tasks, activities and milestones will appear. By default, Any tasks that we start creating in Microsoft Project will start on the project start date, so the best thing to do is enter that value. Go up to the ribbon tab titled Project and click on the Project Information button. The Project Information dialog box will appear with several options, but for today's purpose all we want to do is set the project start date, which I will set here for a couple of weeks from today. Once this is done, I will click on the OK button to close this dialog box. Now let's start creating our project plan. The first thing I am going to do is click into the first row of the task name column, and I will enter in my first activity. My first project activity is really a milestone which Microsoft Project will identify when I enter a duration of 0 days. Note the black diamond shape that appears on the right-hand side of the screen. I will now enter in the first activity as task A in the next row with a duration of 5 days. I am not going to touch the start date and finish date fields, but I am going to enter a predecessor value of 1 indicating that task A has a finish to start relationship with my project kickoff milestone. You will notice that an arrow appears on the right-hand side of the screen showing the predecessor relationship between the activities in the first 2 rows. To make my data entry easier, I am now going to move the predecessor column to be over next to the duration column. This is as simple as clicking on, and then holding my mouse key down on the column header and dragging it over to the position I want. Now I will enter 3 more tasks of equal duration with a cascading finish to start relationship. When this is completed, we will have a 4-week project with 4 5-day tasks. You will see that if I were to change the duration of task B to 2 days, how the auto-scheduled tasks downstream of that task also will move to give us an accurate forecast of the start and finish date of each activity.
Now, let's discuss predecessor relationships. The default predecessor relationship in Microsoft Project is finish to start as shown here in our plan. This simply means that task A must be completed before task B can start. A simple example may be, a piece of wood must have been sanded and cleaned, task A, before it can be painted, task B. The next type of predecessor relationship is start to start. A simple example may be applying icing to a cake. As the cake starts to cool, task A, you can start applying the sugar-based icing, task B. To demonstrate this, we can enter a start to start relationship by adding the characters SS after the row identifier. As you can see, task B shifts to the left to align with the start of task A. I can even add a lag of 1 day by changing the predecessor field to say 2SS plus 1. The next type of predecessor relationship is finish to finish. A simple example may be, performing quality inspections, task B, for as long as it takes to build a product, task A. To demonstrate this, we can enter a finish to finish relationship by adding the characters FF after the row identifier. As you can see, task B shifts to align its finish with the finish of task A. Again, we could add a lead of 1 day by entering 2SS-1, meaning task B will finish 1 day before task A does. We could add a lag of 1 day by entering 2SS plus 1, meaning task B will finish 1 day after task A does. The last option is a start to finish predecessor relationship. The relationship requires task B not to be completed until task A starts. An example, I have used this relationship in planning where customer support from one team, task C, on our plan, can only be finished when customer support from the new team, task B, starts. To demonstrate this, we can enter a start to finish relationship by adding the characters SF after the row identifier with or without a lead or lag calculation if required. This is all very technical, but do not worry about having to remember the exact syntax. Microsoft Project has a helpful task information dialog box you can open by double-clicking on a row, or by selecting the row you want to edit and pressing on the Shift and F2 key at the same time. Once open, you can click on the Predecessors tab and enter the predecessor relationship you need using the list provided. The final point to know is that a task may have 2 dependency relationships, which it will show in the predecessor field separated by a comma. As you enter each predecessor relationship, Microsoft Project will perform a logic test against all the existing predecessor relationships, and it will not allow you to enter a loop showing you a message indicating the problem. I hope this video will help you be successful in delivering your projects. If you found it helpful, remember to like and share this video link with others. This is one of our first videos, but more information and helpful tools and templates will be progressively published at swifthorizon.com.au. Always remember, good planning leads to great results.